Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Today's video is going to be all about popular books that I did like. My last book video was about popular books that I didn't really like, that I read, and they just weren't really for me. However, today's books are all books that I've read that are very popular in the book community and that I also really liked. So I'm just going to talk to you about these 5 books. And the first book I would like to talk to you about is this one, and this is E. Lockhart's We Were Liars. And I thought that, you know, when I heard about this, it didn't really intrigue me, but I think I found this for like 75 cents at my local charity shop, and I was like, oh, might as well give it a try. It's not a huge book, and I have to say this was very surprising because this is a YA book that's about this girl, this group of very rich teenagers and their family, always going to this one island that they own, and something has happened there and you don't really know what, and you don't really know how everything fits together until the very end of the book. I thought this was a very cleverly written book. It definitely didn't really see the whole thing coming, and it was just a very I really enjoyed this read. It was suspenseful, and I was very afraid that sort of the teenage speak and like the way they acted, it was like very sort of like Paris Hilton in the Hamptons kind of stuff, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it didn't really bug me. It really fitted the scene, and it sort of explained why they are the way they are. So there is a little bit of character development there as well, and for such a short book, I think it's a very nice, impactful read. So a short one, but it does pack a punch. Now, I think a book that I definitely started reading because I saw everybody raving about this book is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This was the first V.E. Schwab novel I think I read, and this is amazing. It's got a bit of science, a bit of mystery, it's got superheroes kind of, and it's got 2 bad guys who are both saying they're actually not that bad. So if you like dark novels, then this is a great one. So this book is about Victor and Eli, and they start off being best friends in school, and they go to this special school for very gifted, talented people, I believe. And Eli has this like idea for his final graduation thesis that it should be possible for people to come back from the dead. And sort of like this Frankenstein-esque idea, you could say. And through science, he ends up working out how it works, and he needs Victor's help to execute the practical part to his thesis. So he goes this one step beyond, and when he wakes up, because they are actually successful, he finds out he now has a superpower. He doesn't really want to share this experience with Victor. Victor is very angry about this and tries to set up his own experiment to get himself through this process as well. He wakes up, he also has a superpower, but by now Eli and Victor are no longer on speaking terms. This novel begins a couple of years into the future when Eli and Victor are now each other's arch nemesis. It's a very interesting sort of like bromance, but not quite kind of novel. It has some very interesting characters. As I said, this novel is very dark, and it definitely, there's no right and wrong here. The characters are always towing this line, like they think they are doing good things, but maybe they're not. So that makes this very interesting to read. It's very well paced. It has some really interesting characters, as I already mentioned. Great plot. And I believe there's a sequel coming, so I can't wait for that. And a book that I definitely also knew about from YouTube is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. And this book, it's a bit of a slow burner at first, but once you get through the first 150 pages, because this is quite a big one, it is great. So what is this book about? It is about Mia, and Mia sees her dad getting murdered for treason while he actually didn't do anything wrong but rubbed some people the wrong way. And she's bent on getting revenge. However, she is a little girl at this point when this happens, and she's cast out onto the streets, and since she's very clever, she's taken into the care of this man who actually teaches her how to be a thief, and he knows everything about the Red Church. And the Red Church is a place that Mia is sent off to when she is of age, and the Red Church teaches people to become assassins. And we follow Mia in her journey to the Red Church and becoming an assassin. So that is a very, very nice premise. The reason why this is a little bit slow at first is because you get a lot of backstory, a lot of history to the world that this is set in. So there's a lot of footnotes that tell you about the religion and the political system. And while it may not seem very necessary to read at first, and it definitely takes the pace out of the story for the first couple of 100 pages, but it means that you do get to understand some of the motives and some of the ways that this world is set up. And I think that that is essential to read, but it does mean that you go through things a little bit more slowly. But it's a very well written book, and I already have the second one in the series called God's Grave, where the story will continue, so I can't wait to read that. Now, in terms of covers, I think Red Queen definitely takes the cake, especially this hard copy edition. It has this like embossed crown on it, and this is by Victoria Aveyard. And actually, when I bought this, I didn't really know much about it. But I have since found out that a lot of people love this series, but there's also a lot of people who don't. And I think that if you've read a lot of dystopian back when like Hunger Games and Divergent and all those books were like top of the best-selling lists, I think that this may be a bit like, oh, here we go again, and it's very tropey, and that's what I'll hear a lot of people say about it. It's not so much dystopian as it is a fantasy, I would say, but it definitely plays around with some of these tropes that you find in dystopian YA. So if you don't know what this is about a girl called Mare, and Mare is a red, and red are the lowest of the low, because the world in this book is ruled by silvers who have special powers. They can control different elements such as fire or anything like that. They have special powers, and all of the reds are very poor, and Mare lives in a town called the Stilts, and there she is trying to scrape by, live her life, trying to just survive every single day. There's a huge war going on with the lake in the north of the kingdom. There's these two worlds that are clashing, and all of these reds are being conscripted when they are 16 or 17 to go off to war. And Mare is trying to avoid getting conscripted. She bumps into the crown prince, you could say, because she tries to pick his pocket. And then she ends up being a servant at this like ceremony trying to find a bride for the new crown prince. Something happens, she ends up in the arena, and then lo and behold, she has special powers. But she's a red, and that's problematic for the silvers. So they hide her in plain sight, and everything kind of spirals from there. The fourth book, final book in the series, is coming out right now. I already saw it in store, but I'm holding off because I still have so many other books to read. I will definitely pick it up soon so that I can finish reading the series. So if you want to get into a bit of like dystopian fantasy fiction, and then this is a great one. And then already the final book that I wanted to discuss with you, and that is the Illuminae Files by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I read all 3 books this year. I've read the first 2 in February, trying to prepare for the third one that came out in March. So this series as a whole, I have to say, I really, really enjoyed. Now, a lot of people go on about how this book is very special because it has this like interesting layout, because it's not just like a layout as you would normally have in a book. You're actually reading files after the fact. In this first one, we meet Katie and Eliza, and they are fleeing their planet because it is being attacked by a big corporation. They flee into space, and then in the meantime they also discover that the AI on board of their ship has a bit of a weird thought process, you could say. So Aiden is the AI, which is probably my favorite character in the entire series, I have to say. And then we follow them as they are trying to survive, being on the run from the Bitech corporation who is following them in hot pursuit. And it's just a very nice action-packed story. I do have to say that not each part of the book goes as quickly, because some of the video transcripts that they put in here are a bit slow-paced, but it is action-packed, and even though you're sort of reading everything as like not even secondhand but like third-hand information, it just makes for a very interesting part of it. I have heard of people who can't really get into this because of the way it is constructed, but for me it was definitely not an issue. So if you would like to read a sci-fi novel that has a very interesting layout and that despite it being 600 pages you will breeze through like there is no tomorrow, then this one I can highly recommend. So there you have it, 5 popular books that I also really enjoyed and that I can't stop raving about, so I thought I'd make a video out of it. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe because I make new videos every single Thursday and Sunday. I really hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!